I don't know if y'all know that or not. Like I lost my grandfather last week, right? And he'd been in my care for about 2 years. Like like our, I had moved my family into his house and lived in his house, and I was his caregiver for 2 years. Okay, and so I had lost him um, a week ago Sunday. All right, like so, and so we had his funeral Friday, and so last week was kind of rough, and so we kind of foresaw this coming, and so I lost my grandfather. All right, it's like my last grandparent. Um, for my immediate family, there's only me and my dad left. My mom's already passed away. My brother's passed away. Like I don't have very many of those people left. Okay, and so not trying to be a downer on things. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys. Okay, it kind of affects just like when things happen in y'all's life, right? It affects your life, correct? Like it affects how your schoolwork is. It affects how you do things, how your relationships are. It's the same thing with me, right? And your teachers. Like when there's tragedy in our lives and there's things that happen, it affects our lives. And when people say it doesn't, they're just flat out lying. I'm sorry, they just are. That or they're just a sociopath. They have no feelings. They don't connect. Okay, and then some of us like me who are very empathetic and have feelings like to the nth degree, and they wish they didn't have them so much. It affects them horribly bad. Okay, and so so I kind of got behind a little bit. All right, and so we're going to have to make up some ground. All right, and I'll try to do that in a way that's not too heavy on you guys. All right, but we do got to make up some ground. So this is a shorter worksheet, and I'll try to make up some ground in a way that's not overbearing to you guys. All right, in here, sound good? And I hope that this class is you're actually learning some things in here. More so, not that you're just learning some things about psychology, but from the science aspect of it, but that you're learning some things about how to take care of yourself a little bit from the self-care journal. All right, I think that self-care journal and you learning how to tell yourself that you're good enough when you think that you're not good enough is probably one of the best things that you can learn to do. Because I think so many times that even I find in my life that I have doubts in life, and I have doubts in what I can do, and so I would encourage you to practice self affirmations by getting in a mirror and looking yourself in the eye and telling yourself if you doubt yourself in some way, like you don't think you're good enough at something, telling yourself you're good enough. Like if you don't think you're a good daughter or son, or you're a good friend, or whatever it may be, telling yourself you are. Or you don't think that you're good enough at X, telling yourself you are. Because those words do have meaning, and words do have impact. And actually hearing yourself say it will help you. I know it's helped me. Okay, so but anyway, all right. So let me get off my soapbox a little bit. All right, and let's get back into our text. All right, and we're going to be in chapter 4, consciousness. We're going to start off into this, and we're going to explore into consciousness. And so the first thing we're going to look at is just what is consciousness, and so we need to understand consciousness and to understand what it means to be who we are. That's what consciousness is. It's like waking, sleeping, dreaming, daydreaming. It's other forms of consciousness is awareness. It really makes up our experiences of what we do. Okay, right? Also, like a lack of sleep, right? Lack of sleep. An example of consciousness would be a lack of sleep, right? So if we get like a lack of sleep, um, it has consequences, right? So if we have a lack of sleep, we could increase our chances of having diabetes, right? It could interfere with the onset of like puberty. It could decrease our memory for learning. It could also increase our weight gain. So consciousness does have effects on our body, okay? It has a psychological effect on our body. All right, so we need to understand the working of the conscious mind for our mental and physical well-being. All right, so that's why we need to look at consciousness. Okay, all right. So what is consciousness? All right, it's the awareness of everything going on around you and inside your own head. Right, at any given moment, which you use to organize your behavior, including your own thoughts, your sensations, and feelings. Right, so basically all the stuff that we take in. Right, all the things we feel, all the things we do. Right, how we process that stuff, and our awareness of everything around us. Right, that's our consciousness. Right, some would say that consciousness operates on several different streams, not just one stream, how we take it in. Okay, that it's several stimuli all at once, and then somehow we organize it all into a conscious experience. Okay, and so how do you think consciousness is? What would you say consciousness is? How would you define that, guys? What would you think, just off the top of your head? Do you think that definition is pretty accurate, or do you think, how would you define consciousness in your words?
Would you repeat the definition?
No.
Being awake.
Being awake, being aware, being what?
I said when they say you're unconscious, you're like not.
You don't know what's going on, so the opposite, right? So you know what's going on.
Yeah, aware.
Just
Unconscious,
being aware,
I still
awake.
don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So like it's trouble for some people. Just so consciousness, being awake, this might not work for them either way, right? Right. So, but most of our time is spent in what's called walking consciousness, in which our thoughts and feelings and sensations are clear and organized, and we feel alert. Okay. All right. So right now we are in a state of walking consciousness. All right. We are fully aware, most of us are, of what's going on, right? We got probably a decent amount of sleep, and we know what's going on. We're alert, we're aware, okay? Our thoughts and our feelings and sensations are clear and organized, okay? But there are altered states of consciousness, okay? This is where there's a shift in our quality or patterns of our mental activity. All right? So, has anybody ever had an altered state of consciousness?
Such as.
What do you think an altered state of consciousness is?
Well,
Drugs? What's another altered state of consciousness?
alcohol.
Yes. What?
Hitting the hand with the frying pan.
Getting hit with a frying pan? Yes, I guess that could be altered state of consciousness. What else could be an altered state of consciousness? A concussion, yes. An altered state of consciousness, yes. What? Being half asleep? Absolutely. Yes, all of these are true. How about texting and driving?
Oh yeah.
My mom.
So anything that distracts you from what you're doing at the moment,
Pretty much.
or anything that's fun.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. This is the crazy part about consciousness is actually distracted driving can be, well, is, not can be, is a divided awareness, which is an altered state of consciousness. Yes. All right. So this is, right, altered state of consciousness, right? This is a shift in the quality or pattern of mental activity, right? So let's say we're driving, right? And we're supposed to be focusing on the road, right? Our attentiveness is supposed to be here, right? It's supposed to be organized, right? Right? But we get on our phone, right? So what is our consciousness focused and alert here, or is it divided? It's divided, right? So is it based on the definition? Are we in a state of consciousness or altered consciousness? Altered, because why? It's divided, right? It's shifted, right? It has shifted the quality or pattern of our mental activity. So it's altered now. Okay? All right? So it's disorganized, right? So also altered state of consciousness can be disorganized. It could be fuzzy thoughts. It could be not alert. But sometimes altered state of consciousness can also be increased alertness, right? So like from a stimulant, right? Like somebody taking a drug could be stimulant, taking a stimulant, right? It could be divided awareness, right? Like I said, dividing consciousness, right? Texting and driving, right? Influence of drugs and alcohol. Also daydreaming, right? Daydreaming, being hypnotized, a meditative state. All these are a sense of altered state of consciousness. But the biggest one and the most common one is sleep. Okay? Sleep is the biggest one of altered consciousness that we experience. Okay? It's the biggest one. Right? How many hours of sleep did you guys get last night?
Actually, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea.
4? Okay. All right. Everybody raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand. Everybody. Everybody raise your hand. All right. Okay. Everybody raise your hand. All right. Now, when I say hours, then you put it down. All right. Okay. All right. 8 hours of sleep. You got 8 hours of sleep. Put your hand down. 7, 6, 5, 4. All right. So you got 9? Dang. All right. Wow. Okay. So so I didn't get much sleep last night. So I don't sleep very much. I don't get very much sleep. Okay. So all right. So don't sleep very well. All right. So anyway. So altered state of mind, right? So we need sleep, all right? But why do people need sleep, and how does sleep work, right? Everybody needs sleep at some point. It's a natural cycle of the body, right? We need it, all right? So it's a circadian rhythm, right? This is a sleep-wake cycle, all right? It takes about a day to complete, all right? It is controlled by the brain, all right? The hypothalamus gland, right? This is what controls this. All right, in the hypothalamus area, there's also this nucleus called the I wrote this out, and I always mispronounce things. Y'all know this. Suprachiasmatic. Yeah, super. See, look. See, this is how I do my notes. See how I do this? I always put out how to pronounce it, and then I can't ever pronounce it. Like, even when I'm in church, like, I have these people groups that I have to pronounce every Sunday, and they're like they're foreign groups, and I write them out this way, and I always just like, blah, 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 blah. And anyway, so, same thing. All right. Suprachiasmatic. There we go. Suprachiasmatic. That's what we'll call it. Suprachiasmatic nucleus. There we go. So, suprachiasmatic nucleus, all right? So they have the hypothalamus area called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, all right? This is the internal clock, all right? So the suprachiasmatic nucleus, this has the internal clock in it that tells people when to wake up and fall asleep, all right? We all have this, all right? So that's like when we go to sleep and it automatically tells us to wake up, all right? Some people's is messed up, some is longer, shorter, all right, but it tells us to wake up. This nucleus is sensitive to light changes as well, right? So as the light comes up, right, it tells the brain to secrete melatonin, right? We've heard of melatonin, right? Many of your parents have probably given you melatonin, being like, they just say open your mouth and they throw a handful of it at you, right, to make you go to sleep, right? Probably when you were little. I know I did that to my kids, right? And so that way they would go to sleep, right? And so but your brain actually produces this stuff, and then when the light comes up, this gland produces the melatonin, or when the light goes down, it produces more. When the light comes up, it produces less, and tells you to wake up. That's how this works. Okay?
I keep my room lighted up.
Yeah, so that's why, like people in Alaska who probably have tremendous trouble sleeping when it's light outside for 6 months. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so there's other neurotransmitters that help with sleep, like serotonin. There's other things like body temperature that affect sleep, like the cerebrospinal nucleus. It also controls body temperature as well. So those are also things that help or hinder with sleep, right? So that's also things. So when the body temperature is higher, we sleep less. We're more alert. But then when the body temperature goes down, we sleep more. So all these things are responsible, right? And it's also responsible for setting the biological clock. And it also is responsible for resetting the biological clock. All right? But we also have to ask the question, so how much sleep is enough? Right? So how much sleep is enough for people? Right? So for me, usually about 6 hours is enough. Sometimes I get a little less. But how much sleep is enough?
Depends on the day.
But it really just varies, right? It just varies from person to person. But typically, this is young adults 7 to 9 hours in a 24-hour period. And they tend to function well. Some people 4 to 5, others 9 hours. Older folks 6 hours of sleep. Okay. But here's one thing we know. All right, we cannot do without sleep. All right, we just can't do it. Right, we have to have sleep. The body just can't function without it. All right, we have to have sleep. And here's what happens whenever we don't have sleep. And I don't know if you've ever gone a long period of time without sleep and tried to do something. We start doing something called micro sleep. Have you ever felt yourself do one of those things? It's called micro sleep. Where you do one of those things? All right. True story. Okay, I was about your age, okay, and I'd just been to a lock-in, and stayed up all night long, and I was driving home. It was in Comanche. I was driving to Marlow. I lived in Marlow at the time, and so I was driving home, and so traffic was really bad, and I fell asleep at the wheel, and I hit some of the plastic things in the middle median, went pop, pop, pop. And I pulled back over. Luckily, I didn't have a wreck or anything, but I fell asleep, right? So it was more than a micro sleep. I went out. But I can remember just in the last couple of weeks doing some micro sleeps where I had stayed up really late and drove somewhere and did one of those things, okay? And so you have to be careful, all right? Because usually what happens when micro sleep happens, usually it causes accidents, right? This is usually what happens when people hit other people, all right, is they've been sleep deprived, and now they've had micro sleep. That micro sleep has happened, and they've hit somebody, right? Okay, all right, you know what I mean? And then boom, right? So, but you understand what I'm saying by sleep, micro sleep. You've probably all experienced this, right? You've done that little thing, all right? Okay. All right, so sleep deprivation, right? You know what sleep deprivation is, right? Yeah. Loss of sleep. Okay? You probably all have experienced this. You probably all have done this, right? Right? Staying up all night to study, right? Maybe you've done that, right? It's actually a bad idea to stay up all night and study. Yes, because actually what will happen is if you stay up all night studying, you actually lose more info than you gain. Yeah, because your brain and your body can't handle it. Good sleep helps more with memory than it does. good sleep helps more with memory and to think well than it does to stay up all night trying to cram. Yeah. So anyway, sleep will help more than it does to stay up all night. Loss of sleep, sleep deprivation will actually hurt you. All right, here's some symptoms of sleep deprivation. Maybe this sounds familiar. Trembling hands, inattention, staring off into space, droopy eyelids, general discomfort, emotional symptoms like irritability and depression. Any of that sound familiar to any of y'all? Ha ha ha! Yay! Everyday life. Ha ha! Right? Okay. This is how I live. That's where I live, Mr. Croy. All right. All right. So, all right, here's what sleep helps, guys. Listen to me. All right, here's where sleep helps, right? It strengthens your memory, all right? It's the ability for the brain, right, to adapt to experiences, okay? So, in other words, it strengthens your memory, right? Sleep helps you and your brain, right? It does. It helps you recover, okay? That's what sleep does, all right? And to adapt yourself to experiences that you've had throughout the day, all right? It strengthens your memories of things that have happened throughout the day. All right, did you know that? So if you don't get sleep, your brain tends to get rid of things. All right?
My brain does that anyway.
Okay? All right. So here's a couple of theories. Real fast, I'm going to run through these. Couple of theories of sleep, all right? Adaptive theory of sleep, all right? And this is why we sleep, all right? And why we sleep the way we do. All right? Adaptive theory of sleep says this. It's a product of evolution. In other words, there was bad predators out there, so we decided that because of evolutionary theory that we need to sleep different times, that the predators were out there, so we sleep at night, so that way we're away from the bad dudes. Okay? That's basically the gist of it. So predators were out there hunting, and so we need to sleep at a different time period that they did. That's basically the theory.
So
All right?
There's monsters in the dark.
Huh?
So you're saying there's monsters in the dark.
No. I'm saying that the monsters were during the day, and that's why we sleep at night. Yeah. Yeah, predatory. Yeah, so adaptive theory says that.
During the day we're out there
Yeah.
with the monsters
No. The monsters. No. We sleep.
at night.
Yes, because they're sleeping at night, so we can protect ourselves.
I feel like they're not sleeping at night. I feel
Yes.
like they're like out there ready to
Yeah, it was to protect ourselves. So they're sleeping at night, we're sleeping at night, so that way we protect ourselves.
unless
Okay.
you get something that's not sharp. Yeah, I kind of
Yes. So, all right. So then there's the restorative theory of sleep, okay? Which it's necessary for the physical health of the body. In other words, we need sleep to repair our bodies, okay? So that's the second theory, okay? I live within this one, okay? I would say this one's the reason, all right? Our body needs sleep to repair itself, to restore itself, right? For our memories to be helped, for our minds to be restored, our bodies to be renewed, so that way we can come refreshed for the next day. Okay? Because when we don't sleep, man, we are a bear to deal with. I know I am. Okay? All right. So, all right, I'm going to hand out this worksheet. Work on it hard. I think you can get it in tomorrow. It's only one sheet. All right? It should be really easy.
You did one?
Yes.
You lied to me, Miss Troy. You told
What?
me it wasn't earlier.
But I thought you said it was.
You're such a jokester.
What? I swore I said this one was due tomorrow.
No, you
No,
said
you said it was this one. that we
this
had
one
to
was
put
due
in.
tomorrow, the one we're doing right now, the packet.
I said that's it.
Yeah, but you said that one. I said it's due tomorrow too. You said no. And I said next week. You said yeah.
Oh.
And I know what.
Maybe it's due Thursday.